This video is sponsored by Skillshare. More on them in a sec. Okay, here we go. All right, so I'm gonna break down all the cameras into 3 different categories. Hybrid shooters, cameras just for photography. Well, it can do both, but mainly it specializes in photography. And of course, more video-centric cameras. But yeah, let's go ahead and just break it down, starting with hybrid cameras. Now, technically, all the cameras that I'm gonna mention in this video are hybrid cameras. They both shoot videos and photos, but I feel like these 4 cameras specifically shoot incredible photos and videos equally well. Starting with the A7C. The A7C, I feel, is the perfect entry full-frame camera for people wanting to upgrade to a full-frame camera or people that want to have a solid B camera. With the pricing at just under $1,800, it is the cheapest full-frame camera in the Sony Alpha camera line. And for a lot of people, budget is often like the big factor, right, when it comes to deciding to get a camera or not. And if that sounds like you, then I would definitely suggest starting off with the Sony A7C. I was gonna say Alpha 7C, but I was thinking too much. It's Friday. I love the A7C. I love the colors coming out of the A7C. Shoots amazing photos at, what is it? Oh, I didn't write it down. I'm pretty sure it's 24 megapixels. Yeah, okay, I was right. So 24 megapixel full frame camera that shoots 4K video up to 30 frames per second. Really, it's an amazing budget-friendly full frame camera. It does shoot S-Log video, but not 10-bit 422 video. We'll talk more about that later in the video, but I feel like 10-bit video is more than enough for a lot of creators. Again, the A7C is the most budget-friendly full-frame camera in the entire Sony Alpha camera line, but definitely a worthy camera to get if you're looking for your very first full-frame camera or a really good B camera. The only thing I don't like about the A7C is the viewfinder. Like it's there, it's just not very good. It's so small, like it's almost not usable in a way. So keep that in mind if you want to use the A7C as more of a photography camera, but other than that, I think it's a great hybrid full-frame camera. Next on the line is an older camera, and that's the Sony A7 III. You know what's funny is that the official term for it is Alpha 7 III, but a lot of us have been calling it the A7 III. But for this video, just because it's easier, we'll just call it the A7 III. But the A7 III is one of my favorite cameras ever. It is such a good photography camera at 24 megapixels and an amazing video camera shooting 4K video up to 30 frames per second. The A7 III and the A7C are almost identical, except that the A7C has a fully articulating flip-out screen where the A7 III only has a tilting screen. Now when it comes to photography, I feel like tilting screens are a lot better. It's because when you tilt it up, it just helps you keep the horizon leveled, where with the flip-out screen, it kind of throws you off in a way. And of course, with a flip out screen, it's much easier to vlog with, and so just keep that in mind. But with the A7 III, you get the tilting screen, and the A7C, you have the flip out screen. Also, the viewfinder on the A7 III is much better over the A7C, and so if photography is more of your jam and you want a hybrid camera, then definitely go with the A7 III. I think the A7 III is a better photography camera than the A7C in my opinion. Although the A7C has better colors over the A7 III, but meh. Oh, and the A7 III is only $200 more expensive than the A7C, and so yeah, just keep that in mind. Am I talking too fast? I don't know. I feel like I'm talking too fast. Whatever. Keep up. All right, up next and still in the hybrid camera category is the Sony A7 IV, a camera that I am so excited to have in my camera bag. Now, the A7 IV is the latest and greatest from the Sony Alpha camera line, and to me, I think the perfect hybrid 4K full frame camera that shoots amazing photos at 33 megapixels, so much higher than the A7 III or A7C, and shoots incredible 4K video up to 60 frames per second. And with that, the A7 IV shoots 10-bit 422 video, just the same as the Sony A7S III, a video feature that is so nice to have, especially if you color correct and color grade in post. Just more data packed into the video files and just pulls out all the best colors when you are filming video. 10-bit, oh, I just love 10-bit video. Now I did mention shooting 4K video up to 60 frames per second, but when you're shooting 60 frames per second, there is a crop. It's a 1.5 crop, I believe, or a 1.6 crop. One of those. But there is a crop when you are shooting 4K 60, just something that you should know. There is an option to shoot 120 frames per second, but only in HD. So very similar to the A7 III and A7C if you want to shoot at 120 frames per second. Now to me, I honestly don't think that the 4K 60 crop is that big of a deal. I often shoot crop video anyway. But to me, the two features that really do it for me with the A7 IV is 33 megapixel photos and shooting 10-bit 422 video. The A7 IV is going to run you about $2,500. So definitely more expensive than the A7C and the A7 III, but definitely a lot cheaper than the A7S III. And so if you're looking for those video features like 10-bit 422, shooting 4K 30 frames per second, 24 frames per second, or even 60 frames per second, albeit cropped, and you also want to shoot high resolution photos at 33 megapixels, then the A7 IV is the camera to get, and the camera that I personally bought, and I'm so excited for it to be here. Just keep on waiting. And then finally, in our category of hybrid cameras, the ultimate hybrid full frame camera is gonna be the Sony Alpha One. This is their flagship full frame camera that can shoot stunning photography and amazing 4K video up to 120 frames per second. Yeah. On the photography side, it's gonna shoot 50 megapixel photos, which is just insane to me. I mean, I personally think that 24 megapixels is more than enough for probably 90% of creators. But if you're someone that wants to make really big prints or really fine-tuned prints, whether you're in the fashion world or landscape world or architecture world, the Alpha One is gonna be your camera. Also, if you wanna shoot like really high quality video comparable to the A7S III, like 4K 120, man, this is the camera to get. I still feel like the A7 IV is the better value in terms of the perfect hybrid camera, but hey man, if you got the money, there you go, Alpha One for you. I would even add that the Sony Alpha One would be perfect for journalists. I mean, journalists have to take incredible photos and might have to shoot really high quality videos when they're out in the field. And so yeah, if your line of work is in that kind of field where like your gear has to perform, then the Alpha One is gonna be your camera, if you can afford it. All right, let's go ahead and take a break and talk about today's sponsor, Skillshare. If you don't already know, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes covering dozens of creative and entrepreneurial skills. And if you upgrade to their premium membership, you get unlimited access to join all their classes and communities that are just right for you. Whether you want to fuel your curiosity, creativity, or even career, Skillshare is the place to keep you learning and thriving. And for me personally, I'm taking a class by the one and only MKBHD to help me film better YouTube videos. Marquez is one of the best YouTubers out there, and so why not learn from the best? Skillshare is also incredibly affordable, especially when compared to in-person classes and workshops. And for the first 1,000 people to use my link in the description below, you'll get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare Premium. So if you want to level up your creativity and skills, then make sure to sign up down below. And thanks Skillshare for sponsoring this video. All right, so now we're gonna move on to more of the photography-centric cameras, mainly the Sony A7R series, as well as the Alpha 9 Mark II. Now with the A7R series, there are actually two different kinds. The A7R III, which shoots 42 megapixel photos, and then the A7R IV, which shoots 61 megapixel photos. And so if you need to have a camera that shoots really high resolution photos, whether you're in the wedding industry or you shoot landscapes for National Geographic, then maybe consider getting one of the A7R cameras. Like they are that good. I personally had the A7R III. I mean, shooting 42 megapixel photos just was such a dream, especially when I needed to crop in on a shot and also print that image cropped in. Both cameras can shoot 4K video up to 30 frames per second, but the biggest difference is of course the megapixel count. Again, the A7R III is gonna be a 42 megapixel full frame camera, while the A7 IV is a 61 megapixel full frame camera. The A7R III is gonna be the cheaper camera at $9,000, nope, not $9,000, $1,998, so just under $2,000. Whew, $9,000 camera, yeah, would not pay that. And then the A7 IV is gonna run you just under $3,000 at $2,998. Again, technically, all the cameras that I've mentioned so far are hybrid cameras. It's just that the A7R series are geared towards more for photography because of the high resolution. Now, if you're looking for more of a photography camera that shoots really, really fast, like if you like shooting sports or wildlife, then the Sony Alpha 9 Mark II is gonna be your camera, shooting at 20 frames per second. It's like a machine gun. It's crazy how fast it is. It does only shoot 24 megapixel photos, so definitely not as much as the A7R IV or the A7R III. But like I said before, I feel like 24 megapixels is more than enough for many people. But shooting photos at 20 frames per second is quite a specialty. And if you are in the sports world or if you're shooting F1 cars, I love F1. I love F1 so much. If you're in that kind of line of work, then you definitely want to get a camera that shoots that fast. And just like the A7R III and A7R IV, the Sony A9 Mark II shoots 4K video up to 30 frames per second. But the best feature of the Alpha 9 Mark II is that it shoots incredibly fast photos. And so if you're looking for a photography camera that shoots fast photos, it's the Alpha 9 Mark II. If you're looking for a photography camera that shoots really high resolution photos, then it's gonna be the A7R III or the A7R IV. Or maybe the Alpha One, if you could afford it. And then finally, the last category of the Sony Alpha camera line. And the only camera that fits in that category is gonna be the Sony A7S III. It can shoot photos, but only at 12 megapixels. So it's more than enough for social media, like for Instagram or whatever. And I guess you technically can use it for print. But if you're a professional, like in the wedding industry, you probably wouldn't want to print 12 megapixel photos in your photo album. Like again, I would consider 24 megapixels like the right megapixel count. But the A7S III is more specialized for video work because of the low light capabilities and the fact that it can shoot 4K 10-bit 422 video. I love the A7S III. I'm actually shooting with it right now, and I think will pair perfectly with the A7 IV, which should hopefully be here soon. And so for me, I'm gonna have a great video camera, the A7S III, and I'm gonna have an amazing photography camera, the A7 IV. But if you are looking for more of a video-centric camera that can shoot 4K 10-bit video up to 120 frames per second, that also happens to shoot some pretty decent photos, even at 12 megapixels, then the A7S III is the camera to get. It is gonna cost you a pretty penny, just under $3,500, but honestly, it's been such an amazing camera for my line of work. And if you're someone like me who shoots more videos than photos, then the A7S III might be the camera for you. But to conclude this video, all the cameras that I mentioned are great cameras, and there's no perfect camera that can do everything unless it's the Alpha One. But I wanted to make this video just to kind of highlight some of the key features of each camera to help you decide which camera is right for you. I always find it funny when like trolls be like, well, this camera can't do that or that camera can't do that. Well, no, there's no such thing as the perfect camera. There's like literally so many camera options out there that people should just stop trolling. Just knock it off. Knock it off, Phil. But that's the video I wanted to make today. Hopefully this was helpful to you. And if you enjoyed it, appreciate a thumbs up, subscribe, make sure to hit that bell button to get notified for upcoming videos. I truly appreciate you all. If you have any questions about any of the cameras that I mentioned or other cameras, then let me know in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them. Unless it's a troll comment, in which case I will not.